This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Today's podcast is brought to you by Leverage, a new fully featured decentralized futures exchange without compromise. Are you ready to trade the future of crypto today? Well, Leverage is a DEX, so you can trade with your keys and sign orders just with one click, and Leverage is fast. Yes, indeed, Leverage is powered by Gluon, a new layer 2 solution with the scalability and speed of a centralized exchange and the super low fees of a DEX. Yes, Leverage, the new exchange that combines the best features of CeFi and DeFi, so you can trade crypto spot or crypto derivatives with up to 100x leverage while maintaining control of your assets at all times. It's like William Gibson said, the future is already here, but in this case, it's evenly distributed and completely decentralized. Go to leverage.io, and leverage is spelled Leverj.io, and trade the future of crypto today.
Yeah, boy!
My guests today are Zack Burks. Zack is the CEO and founder of Mintable, the NFT marketplace. And also we are joined by Wladimir Baranoff-Rossine, who is the grandson of Vladimir Baranoff-Rossine. And I hope that I got that name mostly right, Vladimir. But welcome, Zack, and welcome, Vladimir.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yes, thank you very much, and likewise. Pleasure to meet you.
So this is a slightly different podcast, mainly because I've got two guests on the show, which is always a lot of fun. So it's really cool to have Zack and Vladimir here. But the reason that these guys are both here is because, you know, Mintable is running a little bit of a special auction here. So the announcement is that Mintable, the marketplace, is going to auction an exclusive 20th century avant-garde piece of fine art, and this is called Abstract Composition. I believe, Vladimir, this was painted in 1926 by your grandfather. And so I think by doing this podcast, my hope is that all of us and the audience can learn a little bit about NFTs, art, history, past, and future. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but look, let's begin with you, Zack. Do you want to just introduce yourself and just briefly explain what Mintable is, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, so obviously I'm the founder of Mintable. Mintable is a NFT marketplace, so we're an open platform for anyone to come on and create their NFTs. But then we also work, very closely with selected people and creators to do special drops like this. So the marketplace in and of itself is open for everyone, but the drops is, curated and worked, we were working for, 3 months with you, Vladimir, on getting this right and going through the motions and making sure that it's perfect to get this ready. And this is historic, right? We've never had something like this in the NFT ecosystem before. NFTs have been around for 3 years now, at least on Ethereum, and there's never been a piece of fine art tokenized. It's always been something that we've discussed in the NFT ecosystem, but it's never actually been accomplished, and especially not from someone as, who holds such a legacy as, Vladimir Baranoff-Rossine does, and they've never done the physical counterpart like what we're doing. So the NFT is obviously the digital version of the painting, but it also acts as the certificate of ownership and authenticity, where when you buy the NFT itself, the painting, which is like 96 years old, is going to be mailed to the winner of that auction. So you have people that spend millions of dollars on a purely digital NFT. What are they willing to pay for a piece of history that they can display on their wall that belongs in a museum? So that's insane.
Yeah, and look, that is going to be very interesting to watch this auction and find out where it goes to. So, look, I really want to dig into Mintable a bit more later in the show because you guys have got some quite unique features that are slightly different from some of the other NFT marketplaces. So we'll get to that, Zack. But let's bring you in, Vladimir. So to begin with, love it if you could just introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit of a story about your grandfather and, tell us a little bit about his history as an artist and then kind of maybe how this has gone full circle to where we are today. So, yeah, take your time and tell the story.
Thank you. So my name's Vladimir as well, and I'm the grandson of Vladimir, just to confuse things. So my grandfather was a Russian avant-garde painter. So he studied in St. Petersburg in Russia before immigrating to France during the war. I think my grandfather was always experimenting with color, with textures and light. He was an inventor and a sculptor and a painter. And he rose to prominence when it came to fusing art and music together. And then he created and invented an optophonic piano. So the NFT space represents a new medium and frontier for creative expression, which we thought as a family was only too fitting to showcase the collection in a never-seen-before way. So we're very excited to be working with Zack and Mintable for this historic event.
Fantastic. It's a really nice story. And so this is quite a detailed, quite a comprehensive collection, I guess you would call it. So as I understand it, there's the one physical painting, and then there are a limited number of collections and special editions here as well. So I don't know, who's the best person here? Zack, do you want to just kind of give us a bit of an overview of how the entire drop works here?
Yeah, so it goes live on the 25th of March, and what goes live is all the auctions and the open editions. So the way that it's set up is there's 10 total items. One of them is the main auction, which has the physical piece, the physical painting mailed to you. And then there's 3 secondary auctions for purely digital NFTs, which are different works of art by Vladimir that are digitalized and turned into NFTs. And these are, there's no physical painting attached to these. These are just normal NFTs that you would get. And then there are 6 open editions, which open editions is basically saying that there's 1,000 of them at a fixed price. Have at it. Like as soon as the auction opens, you'll be able to buy those, and they're obviously going to sell out really quick. And so the auction's a 7-day auction for all the other pieces, but on day 7, those open editions won't be around anymore. And with something as prestigious as an actual physical museum painting, or the artist has paintings in the museum or in museums around the world, when you think about that, the value is obviously going to be quite a bit of money, right? And not everyone is going to have that much money. And so that's why we have the open editions for the everyday person to get access to this piece of history, to get access to the this first time event that's never happened before, and then also just to collect and potentially resell those for a profit. So the open editions are limited. Some only have 100, some have 250, some have 500, and there's one that has 1,000. And they're all at different prices. And this is for the everyday person to come in and get involved, to buy multiple copies of it. And then the main auctions are obviously for the the big players that really want a piece of historic art.
Yeah, and I like that a lot, and I think that's it's a great feature about NFTs is you kind of really only limited by your own imagination as to how you construct and create these different marketplaces and the different drops. So it's cool that you kind of have the high end auctions for the serious wealthy collectors, shall we say, but it's also the open editions are available for just your everyday people, as we say. So well, Vladimir, do you want to just describe, I guess, your grandfather's art style a bit more? And, I love this idea that you sort of compared his, I think, kind of slightly futuristic for the time style to, NFTs today. And so it does kind of go full circle. And how did you and your family kind of come up with this idea? And then, how did you end up kind of reaching out to Zack and putting this all together?
Thank you. In terms of the collection, we kind of wanted to showcase a bit of a cross-section. So we have different styles and different works of art on show. One of the important pieces of the collection is actually regarding the optophonic piano. So my grandfather invented a piano, but instead of when you're playing the piano, instead of playing music, each key would move different discs of light, which would then be projected on top of a wall. So one of the optophonic discs is there as a limited edition, as long as some reproductions. So the piano represents a very, very important part of the collection. What's quite interesting as well is my grandfather was actually interested in bringing a smell to some of the concerts that happened. So you'd have sight, sound, and smell to really, get in touch with with the senses. The concerts which were taking place all over Europe, including at the Bolshoi Theatre.
Yeah, that's really quite avant-garde stuff, even today. And so this must have been just he must have been a real pioneer, in the 1920s, right?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the stories as well, Symphony No. 1 that was sculpted in 1913. There was actually two sculptures. Now, the press at the time were incredibly critical of his work. So he threw one of the pieces in the River Seine. And the second sculpture is now a permanent exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And the sculpture was actually used in the museum's promotional video called I See. And the promotional video actually discusses the art, they're trying to picture what an artist in 1920 would be like now with the same problems the world is facing now. So it's quite an interesting journey. Exactly. This kind of happening. And the final, sculpture is in the moment at the moment. So, absolutely fantastic to see that.
Brilliant. And, do you think that if your grandfather was around today, do you think he'd approve, and he'd be pushing the boundaries in the same way he was in his time? He would simply see this as a natural progression, and this is where art is going, and you're out on the bleeding edge, and he'd be right there with you.
Absolutely. It's something which he did his whole career. So yes, absolutely. I think that's what's exciting about blockchain. The other thing as well is, as an artist, the most important thing you want is for people to see your work, whether you're dead or alive. So the whole art scene in blockchain technology, in the NFT space, is just bringing a lot more eyes to the collection. It's a new type of new people looking at the collection and appreciating the art, which is what we want as a family.
Very much so. And look, Zack, are we making history, or not we, but you guys? Are we making history here in terms of? Can you think of any other examples of NFT auctions in this way with artists from the past, if you like, if that's a slightly strange way of putting it, but I think you know what I mean. Put this in context. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so this is historic. And, obviously we don't take that lightly, that phrase. A lot of blockchain companies will say, oh, it's the world's first, right? Because there's a lot of world's first in crypto. But this is like the world's first by a long milestone and a long shot. This is something that Sotheby's or Christie's, would be auctioning off. This is a piece of high valued art by a very well-known artist turned into an NFT. That's never happened before. We've never had an artist from born in the 1800s, right, make an NFT. So that's insane right there. You're right. Automatically, we have an NFT that is tied to a piece of art from someone who was, around before the turn of the 19th, the 1900s, which is insane to me. That blows my mind to think about how many hundreds of years, it's been like 40 years since he was born. So that's crazy. That's historic in and of itself. The second thing is the physical painting is actually delivered. So with Mintable, we've seen it a lot where people will do physical prints with the NFTs. They'll mail it to you, and that's awesome. It's really cool at Mintable that we were able to do that, which you can't do on other marketplaces. But never has it been at this level where what you're getting is something so prestigious. So that's huge. And then finally, the reputation of Vladimir is just it's beyond the, like, for example, Beeple sold his digital art for $70 million in auction, which is amazing. And he's a great artist. He's a great guy. But he's living, right? And if you went back 2 or 3 years, how many people knew Beeple as an artist, right? He's not very well known or prestigious. He doesn't have pieces in a museum or something like that. So he's, obviously he's leading the era of NFTs right now with digital art. But when we look at how many artists who have pieces and permanent installations around the world are doing NFTs, the answer is none, right? I don't think there's been a single artist make an NFT who's got permanent installations in the Museum of Modern Art or all the other museums that Vladimir has paintings in. So that is another avenue of this. It's just the prestige, the authenticity of everything, and the quality, and obviously, the age. All of this is just, it's never been done, and it's historic, and it's also a really cool way to add value to someone who's going to spend, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on an NFT, because people do that. And all they get is that digital image. They'll own the NFT, but they don't have something to hang on their wall. But now, when they spend that amount of money, they're actually going to get this prized possession that is delivered to their door that they can then show off in their house. And not only can they do the normal NFT stuff, like they can show it off on their phone or show it in their wall and say, "I own this," but they could also be like, "Well, I own this digital NFT," and then behind them they point on their wall and be like, "Because that's it right there," right? So that's just insane. And I think we're going to see a lot of collectors, high-valued art collectors, are going to be looking at this to add to their collection. Obviously, Vladimir can talk more about this, but there's a ton of pieces from the original collection that are in private collections right now, that are not in museums, just because they're so valuable and obviously they're so prized.
Well, look, happy to get thoughts from both of you on this. So let's dig into this a little bit more. So, the Beeple, the 5,000 Everydays NFT piece that we're talking about, right? So auctioned by Christie's and obviously broke all these records. That was 69 million it was sold for, and that was purchased by the Metaverse NFT fund, right? Which I think, there's two guys, their Twitter names are Tubador and Metakovan, and they're two Indian guys who are early crypto adopters and have done well out of crypto and kind of, followed the whole journey, and they kind of basically outed themselves as the purchasers of the Beeple piece, and they're massive NFT guys themselves, obviously, right? So I guess where I'm going with this is, Beeple is, as you say, Zach, it's digital art created in the moment, and so it's a little bit different from what we're talking about with the Vladimir auction, right? So who do you guys? I'm just really interested, and look, I'm sure you guys are fascinated yourself. Like, who do you see as the target market here? Because this auction could potentially cross over between the NFT people of the moment with, as you say, the more traditional collectors as well. What are you seeing?
I think Vladimir could talk on that, and then I'll complement it with my thoughts.
Sure, Vladimir.
Yes, I think it's going to be both types of collectors. You're going to get your traditional fine art collectors, and then your NFT collectors. And I think that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. This is new eyes looking at the collection. So as many, we want as many people to see the art as possible. So yes, definitely a mixture, the traditional, and then the newer collector.
And I think on that note that, he's right. It's going to be both, but I think there's a 90% chance that the auction is going to be won by a crypto investor. And the reason I think that is because they're the ones that are doing a lot of the bidding on high value NFTs right now. But I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a bidding war between a traditional and a crypto person, like let's say Metacoven, right? There's going to be a traditional art investor who wants this piece to add to their collection, and they're going to bid on this. And some crypto well is not going to take no for an answer, because they already collect NFTs. They're already going to get their NFT for this, but now they have something to complement. So Metacoven lives here in Singapore. He's very wealthy, right? He's probably got a very nice penthouse or, house. And he probably has multiple digital displays for his NFT collection. But I wonder how many pieces of fine arts he has hanging on his wall. And so this is where, to him, he can literally have the digital display next to the original, right? A duplicate, right? There's two of them that he can show off. And I think that really speaks to these crypto investors who have a lot of money, that they value NFTs very highly. They're going to see this as it's a mix of both worlds, right? If you asked Metacoven to go buy something like this without the NFT, they may say, oh, that's not really my field of expertise. But when you say, hey, you're going to get the NFT first and foremost, and then you're going to get that painting itself, they might say, okay, that's right up my alley. I understand this. And so I think there's a ton of for me, I obviously I run an NFT marketplace. I like NFTs. I collect NFTs. And when I see this, I want to buy it. Because I want to hang this on my wall. I want to have a piece of, historic art in my house and have the NFT. And that's the beauty behind this drop.
Yeah, really nicely said, Zach. And look, listening to you there, I just started to feel a mild twinge of FOMO myself for this auction. But look, if we step back a bit, or step forward, if you like, love to get some thoughts from you both on just, the kind of the wider implications for, whatever we call this new creator economy that NFTs are unlocking. And it kind of applies to all creators, really. But I guess, specifically, maybe happy to look at it through the lens of artists, digital art creators, or even fine art creators in this case, and just sort of, what it means for their, their careers and their ability to earn and create and all these new marketplaces. Should we start with you, Zach? What do you think of the wider implications here?
Well, I think it's obviously setting a precedent. Right now, NFTs are blowing up, and we have every celebrity, big name, anyone that's got a following of over 1 million people is looking at NFTs as a way to, create this engagement with their audience that they haven't been able to do before. And, we've already seen a ton once we announced this, we've already seen a ton of different fine art, either connoisseurs or collectors or companies that deal with clients that are, in the fine art space reach out to us and say, hey, I didn't know this was possible. I would love to talk about doing this with some of our paintings. And so I think that we're going to see a lot more of this. And it's an interesting mix, right? Because when I made Mintable in 2018, if you told me, you're going to be doing fine art auctions for, artists that, that have been around, they're 100 years old and they have pieces in the museums, I would have kind of laughed and said, nah, no way, right? That would be awesome, but I didn't see that happening. So it's a weird mix, because now it's like, are we looking to move into Sotheby's and Christie's like kind of realm, or what are we kind of doing? Because it's just such a crazy world to enter, and the mix between the two is obviously a match made in heaven. NFTs are just the perfect use case for provenance and tracking, and they solve a lot of issues with traditional art where when we work with Vladimir, the thing that took most of the time was getting the documentation and the provenance and kind of verifying everything. And had there been an NFT already made, it would have been much easier, right? We could have just verified the contract, verified the ownership of the NFT, and then that's kind of it, right? So that's the benefit of using NFTs for this, is that when you create an NFT for a piece of art, it simplifies a lot of the process when you are transferring ownership or trying to sell it. So I think, yeah, we're going to see a lot more of this. I think the NFT space is obviously just blowing up right now, and it's just getting started. So this year is the year for NFTs. And I think by the end of the year, there's going to be a ton of things that, just never happened before. And obviously next year is going to be even crazier. But, we're on track to see NFTs become a household term that people are talking about, where, at the dinner table, your kids are talking about NFTs that they want to buy. Kind of like, they're talking about buying different digital items like skins and video game dollars and stuff like that. But then at the same time, you're going to hear a lot of news and media coverage about just some of the value that they're fetching, some of the ways that they're disrupting things. I've had a lot of discussions with people and companies in the past week just on how they can get involved and get started. And I think that it's going to be a crazy ride for the rest of this year and next year.
I have no doubt that will be the case. Anything to add there, Vladimir?
Yes, I love the idea of mixing the old and the new. And Zack picked up on an important point about the NFT certificate that digitally verifies the artwork's provenance and authenticity using blockchain technology. We currently get, as a family, we get inquiries, near on every month, people asking for authentications of art. And it's very difficult doing an authentication by email, and oftentimes we don't. Forgeries are rife in the industry, and we come across them all the time. There's a lot of forgeries on eBay, so I think being able to verify the artwork's provenance, using blockchain, I think is going to be important. Is an important step, I think, for the entire industry. So that's a very important aspect of the whole technology, which makes everything even more interesting.
And Zack, you sort of hinted that you expect to see the year ahead and next year things just continue to get crazier, and I'm sure there'll be just amazing, imaginative new use cases unlocked across the NFT ecosystem. But, I have seen, I think just this week we've seen NFTs released by brands like, Taco Bell, Pringles, and I don't know if you saw the Charmin toilet paper in NFT, which just, things are quite hyped up at the moment, shall we say, which is fun to see as well. But so I guess, just as we start to finish off, are there any concerns that, the market sort of overheating? Is it too much too soon, or is this just how kind of adoption cycles work, and it's just going to bring everybody on board, and it's great to see, and let's see the amazing new use cases that are unlocked?
Well, so, big brands getting involved is, I know a lot of people ask, is this a bubble? Is this going to pop? Are we at the top of the cycle kind of thing? And first off, it's not a bubble, and I can talk about that extensively and kind of provide details. But the reason is NFTs are unique in and of themselves, right? So it's, in terms of the bubble argument, if Pokemon cards, get really hot and they get really overpriced, and then their price collapses, a few months later, is that going to impact the price of basketball cards or baseball cards or for any other kind of collectible? Not really, no, because they're different markets. They're different collectors. They're different bases of people that are involved, and they have different prices and means to value them. So when you look at NFTs, everything is unique in their own asset class, right? Where the Taco Bell NFTs are unique compared to obviously this NFT, right? If the Taco Bell NFTs started off at $1 million and then next week they go down to $1 and no one cares about them anymore, that's not going to impact this drop in the NFTs for Vladimir's works, and that's because they're different asset classes. And so that's the bubble argument approach. As for the hype, there's definitely a lot of hype right now, and it's good. And it's good because what it means is that we see all these brands getting involved, and they're looking at a way to engage their audience where they weren't able to do so before. And it's, the way I kind of look at it when you see like Charmin making NFTs for toilet paper, I look at it like those cereal boxes you see where it like comes with a toy, or it comes with like a collectible card, or like the Happy Meal toys and stuff like that, where like a movie will partner with McDonald's and do something like that, right? It's one, it's a form of advertising, and two, some of them may have value, right? If you look back on some of these like cereal box toys and McDonald's toys, 99% of them don't have value after the years, but there are a few that there's people that want to collect, right? Because either it's for a big brand or it was from something historic. And this is an example of when you get into advertising, like what Taco Bell and Charmin are doing. They're doing ad campaigns essentially. Some of it will be collectible and some of it won't be. For those big brands, as I mentioned, it's advertising, right? But for other brands, it may not necessarily be advertising, but instead that new way to engage their audience. Because with NFTs, there's a lot of unique things that you can do. So Kings of Leon, they made their NFTs, their band, and one of the unique things they did is they had like a golden ticket, which is a free concert ticket for life for any of their shows. And that's what I mean by a new way to engage your audience. You can't really, you could, but you can't really do that effectively without using something like NFTs. And so when you look at YouTubers or podcasters or content creators, just regardless of what they're making, there's a ton of new ways that they can engage and continue to engage their audience over and over by having their, using NFTs, which they just couldn't do before. And so this is where we're going to see everyone jump on, but there's so much creativity of what you can do with the NFT. The limit is literally the content creators' creativity, right? If they come up with a really unique way to incentivize or monetize or engage with their NFTs, then those NFTs are going to have value. So I don't necessarily think it's bad. I think it's very much akin to it's like the early days of the internet when every company was like, oh, we got to get a website. We got to get a website, right? That's not bad by any means, right? That was very important for obviously building out the internet and getting a lot of different content on the internet. And it's not like having the website destroyed the business or the business shut down the website a year later kind of thing, right? We still go to TacoBell.com. Well, I don't know if people go to TacoBell.com. I guess it's a fast food restaurant. But the point is there's still a website there that you can go and visit, right? And that's what I'm talking about in terms of the NFT aspect is they make NFTs now, and in 5 years, they're still going to be making NFTs. In fact, the cereal box toys or the McDonald's Happy Meal toys, they may be NFTs in a few years, right? And this is that new way to engage. And I don't think it's going to disappear at all. I think this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I think you make some great points there, Zach. And look, as the digital world expands around us and we walk, inexorably towards the inevitable metaverse, then inevitably we're going to have your Taco Bells and your Pringles and your Charmin and everyone else creating NFTs along the way, because we live in a digital world. It's really as simple as that, I think. Look, I think this feels like a nice place to begin to wrap up today. So I reckon we should get some closing thoughts from you both. Look, happy for you both just to do a kind of a final wrap up and pitch on this exciting auction featuring NFTs from Wladimir Baranoff-Rossine, who was Vladimir's grandfather, and he was born in 1888 and died in 1944, I can see. So there's 10 drops, 4 auctions, and 1 original 96-year-old painting mailed to you, along with an NFT certificate of authenticity, of course. So, all right, well, let's hear the final wrap up on this exciting art NFT auction. Vladimir, go for gold.
Thank you. We just want everyone to enjoy the art. We want people to look at the collection in a never seen before way and just appreciate the art, for what it is. And I hope everyone that looks enjoys the collection as much as we've enjoyed putting it together.
And Zack, and I think we should also include just any dates and websites and all that kind of nitty gritty. I can put some of this in the show notes, but just the dates that people should be aware of if they want to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So the drop right now, you can go to mintable.app/drops, and that is the auction page, and that's where you can get the information. It's live right now. You can see everything. You can get ready. You have about 6 days. So in 6 days from now, the auction is going to go live on March 25th at 9 a.m. Singapore time, which is 9 p.m. EST. That's when it goes live. It's a 7-day auction. So you don't need to be there when it goes live unless you want the open editions. The open editions will go live as well, and those will sell out. So once it goes live, there's that 7-day window. And of course, because it's bidding on an auction system, the most important part is going to be that last hour. And so, people are going to be watching it. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this. I think it's, we've said it before, it's historic. And I think it's amazing. And regardless of how it does, if it sells for $500,000 or 10 million or even 50 million, it doesn't really matter, because we're setting a precedent. We're creating something that, has never happened, and we're opening doors. As Vladimir says, it's a new way to appreciate the art. It's a new way for people to get eyes on the art. And so it's special. It's special in that way. And I think just buying the NFTs on the open editions or the secondary auctions that we have, not the main one, is one. Obviously, it's official by the family. They're paintings themselves. They're the digital versions of them, and that's awesome to be able to say you have an NFT like that. But it's also taking part in history, right? So the first time it's ever happened, and you can, if you're an NFT person and you're in the ecosystem and you care about the ecosystem, then you have the ability to say, I was there. I got a piece of history of the first art that was tokenized from someone from the 1800s, someone who was born in the 1800s, pieces that are over 100 years old. And in 5 years, when every, high valued art is being auctioned off like this, you'll be able to say, I have that first one, right? And it's kind of like the CryptoPunks aspect, where this is the first, and there's nothing before it. So there's going to be value in this, down the road in that regard. So I think it's exciting. Don't miss it out. You can go to mintable.app/drops. March 25th is when it goes live, 9 p.m. EST. Set your calendars, set a timer, get your ETH ready, and take part in history.
Set a timer, set your calendars, and load up those wallets with some ETH. Time to get excited. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm going to be watching this auction myself. I'm absolutely fascinated to see where it all goes. And I wish you both the absolute best with this. I think it's a great project. And it's great to see. Thank you, Vladimir, and thank you, Zack. All the best, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Boom, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Thank you to Zack and Vladimir. As I say, it'd be very interesting to see how that auction progresses. Hey, want to say thank you for listening. Did you know that this is episode 101 of the Crypto Conversation podcast. Yes, 101 episodes deep, quite a milestone. It's taken not quite 2 years to get here. Is it 2 years or 3 years? I don't even know. I should have known. Doesn't matter. Anyway, 101 episodes.
Sorry.
Laughing in the cheap seats, quiet in the background. Anyway, want to give some shout outs to Dave at Brave New Coin for kicking this off back in the day, and look, here we are. As I say, 101 episodes, so we have kind of accelerated a little bit by now we're doing 2 to 3 episodes a week. This is really only the second week of 3 episodes a week. So look, as I've started to say, happy to hear your feedback on what you think of the increased schedule, and I am planning some more episodes soon where it's just me giving some commentary of whatever the macro highlight of the week is, reading from reports, investor letters, papers, deep dives, all that kind of thing. But again, really nothing else to say except 101 episodes. Cool to see. All right, that's us. We are out of here. Please, if you do have feedback, please do get in touch so you can get at me. DMs are open on Twitter at AndyPickeringNZ, or simply drop me an email, andy@bravenewcoin.com. All right, that's us. We're out of here. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New